Welcome to the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show.
How's it going, folks? Thank you guys for coming out, checking out the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show this week. It's our special Halloween episode. But first off, I'd like to take the time out to send our thoughts and prayers to the victims of Hurricane Sandy. Anyone who's out there who's lost a loved one or family member, our prayers are with you.
I'd like to thank you guys for coming out to the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show. As the one-time scariest man on the planet, I felt indubitably that it was my job to take over the show this week for the Halloween episode. Now, your regular host, the Misunderstood Evil Genius, some would say that he's a pretty intelligent guy. And so I explained to him my idea that after talking to one of my pigeons, that how I serendipitously came up with the thought of taking over this week's show. At first he objected, which I thought was preposterous. But after my fist had a couple of conversations with the solar plexus, he unequivocally agreed that I should go ahead and host this week's show. It was quite the show of existentialism, so here we are. On a random note, can anyone please explain to me why Snoop Dogg changed his name to Snoop Lion? I mean, you think of like maybe a cobra or an emu or rhinoceroses, maybe even a honey badger. I hear those things are ferocious. This week, I want to start out with handing out the Kobe Bryant Bitch Made Move of the Week Award. This week's Bitch Made Move of the Week Award goes to Mother Nature and her complete proliferation of the Eastern Seaboard just 2 days before Halloween. What are those kids going to do? They're going to scuba dive for trick-or-treating? That's not nice. It's kind of like the early 90s when I went on a coke binge and went around to mall Santa Clauses everywhere and knocked them out. Kind of ruined everyone's Christmas. Since my recent conversion to vegetarianism, I've become a kinder, gentler soul. I no longer just beat people up for any reason whatsoever. As no longer being a carnivorian, I'm now a kinder, gentler person. I'm not as violent. I'm no longer violent. I'm now just physical. Very, very physical. Just very, very physical. Which leads me up into the election. Everyone just automatically assumes that because I'm black, I'm going to vote for Barack Obama now. But me and Mitch Romney, we have a whole lot in common. Just think about it. If he could turn me into a corporation, the beating and raping of people will be much easier for me to get away with, much like his corporations do now. And if I vote for Barack Obama, his healthcare system is going to help me out in the long run. All the people that I beat unmercifully, they're going to be able to afford to get better, which means that I can just beat them all over again. Long term, that's good for business. So as you can see, I'm stuck between a boat dock and a marble hard case. Who am I kidding? I'm a convicted felon. They don't allow me to vote anymore. But I'm going to encourage you to. Who knows? You may find me at a polling booth next Tuesday helping convince my constituents on who to vote for. In a physically non-violent manner, of course. This has been I Am Mike Tyson at the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show. I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and have a safe and happy Halloween. Everybody out there, you better vote next week or I'm going to come to your house and bite your ear off. Is that on my vegetarianism diet? Ears? Not made of soy? No?
Welcome, folks, back to the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show. I hope you enjoyed your time with Mike Tyson. He's kind of a ham. But I've got my show back. Let's get into this week's football picks. This week's Thursday night matchup is Kansas City versus San Diego. This week's Do I Have to Watch the Whole Damn Game Award is brought to you by Terminator 7 and Gone with the Wind in 3D. Do I have to watch the whole damn game? I tell you what, if San Diego doesn't win this game at home, I'll fire Norv Turner myself. Denver versus Cincinnati. Peyton Manning and his homies are rolling into my hometown and they're going to take on the Bengals after stomping the shit out of the Saints. Now, normally, going up against the Saints D is a good way to get back on track if you're feeling a little off track, but there's no way to judge on how good you actually are. The defense is that horrible. I'm still going to take my boys at home after coming off the bye. Another reason is Denver's only road win is against San Diego, and that shit really don't count. Next up, we have Baltimore versus Cleveland. Baltimore is coming off their bye and licking their wounds off their last loss. Now, Ray is not walking through that door, but T-Sizzle and Ed Reed are, so that should be plenty enough to handle Cleveland. And this week's Do I Really Have to Discuss That Damn Game award is a tie between Arizona and Green Bay, as well as Buffalo and Houston. Arizona's going to have a hard time picking up 11 players that want to actually wear their jersey when they go on the road against Green Bay. Buffalo, they're a team of backup running backs. They need to focus on their fantasy basketball team because there's no way they're going to beat Houston. Next up, we have Chicago versus Tennessee. With or without Jay Cutler, Chicago is going to handle this game. Chris Johnson for Tennessee has already had his good game of the season. He only did that to keep from being traded to a real team where he would actually have to perform every week. Miami versus Indy. Even though I believe that Andrew Luck is the better of these two rookie quarterbacks, Miami's run game and defense are better than anything Indy has to offer. Andrew Luck is going to lead a furious comeback, but they're going to fall short in the end. Miami on the road. Carolina versus Washington. This game I'm actually excited for, folks. It's the genetically superior black athlete bowl, aka Jimmy the Greek Classic. Cam Newton's extra year of experience should go ahead and give Carolina the win in this one, but what I'm excited for is that on the Jumbotron before, during, and after the game, they're going to play Roots. Rumor has it that they're actually going to move this game and save it for Black History Month and have it played on the Amistad, but that has yet to be confirmed. Next up, we have Detroit versus Jacksonville. Megatron is my homeboy. And Jacksonville sucks donkey balls. Detroit on the road. Tampa Bay versus Oakland. This is this week's I can't call it game. After this game, one of these two teams is going to be 500. I can't really call which one deserves it. But I'm thinking the Raiders at home, and maybe the ghost of Al Davis will help Janikowski kick an 85-yard field goal at the end of regulation. That's my prediction. Minnesota versus Seattle. Despite all-day AP, Seattle's going to use their home field mojo to shut down an inconsistent Minnesota. Pittsburgh versus the New York Giants. I'm going to take the Giants in this one for the only real reason we should take them. Pittsburgh owes the league a loss for having us watch their game last week in those ugly-ass uniforms. Secondly, if the stadium hasn't been washed away, the Giants should win to bring some kind of cheer to the folks and the victims of Hurricane Sandy. The first positive note after the hurricane is that the Jets aren't playing this week. So if the Giants get a win and the Jets aren't playing, it's a great week for the New York area. On the Sunday night game, the Dallas Cowgirls are not going to beat Atlanta. In the Monday night game, we have Philadelphia on the road at New Orleans. The only defense in the league that's worse than New Orleans is Philly's. Philadelphia has a great chance of winning this game, but I predict that somewhere in the fourth quarter, Andy Reid is going to call a QB triple option backflip and Michael Vick's going to get broke off, fumble the ball, and they'll lose the game. Somehow it'll still be Michael Vick's fault, even though Andy Reid is a horrible ass coach. Philadelphia, y'all owe Donovan McNabb an apology. Once again, thank you guys for coming out to the Misunderstood Evil Genius Show. May our prayers and thoughts go out to all those folks along the Eastern Seaboard. May God speed in your recovery. I'm out like global warming. Deuces! Awesome. It's edible.
Okay, listen. You can't eat the shells.
You gotta eat the shrimp face. When you eat the face of the shrimp, that's where all the flavor is at. Seriously. All the flavor besides that is just shrimp that you can get anywhere. From Red Lobster, you can get it from Papados.
It's scrimp, first of all.
It's scrimp. You're right, it's scrimp. And you gotta eat the face. Scrimp faces. If you don't eat it all, then it's going to be messed up and it's going to come back to life and haunt you. Kind of like the zombie apocalypse. This is Mike Tyson warning you about the zombie apocalypse. You guys need to take shelter and double tap to the face. To the face. If you don't double tap to the face, the zombie's going to come back alive. He's going to eat your children, much like I used to do back in the day. Is vegetarian because I kind of want to bite somebody's ear, but I don't know if they're vegetarian or not. All you nerds out there that are watching Game of Thrones or Twilight series or things like that, get a life. If you don't get a life, people like me are going to beat you up. I don't really understand the Twilight series. I mean, it's just a bunch of powdery people running around, and then, like, the vampires think that they can really beat the werewolves, and the werewolves are they're kind of soft. They're up in the woods all the time, and nothing really ever happens in these movies. They just kind of sit around and all simp over the same broad. I rape better chicks than that in prison.
Subject, woman.
Movies. I saw the Avengers over the summer, but there was kind of a lack of a love story in it, so it didn't really appeal to me. Now, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, however, that was a movie with a love story, even though I didn't believe the dwarves were very believable. I've beat up bigger midgets than the dwarves were. I'd like to give big props to the San Francisco Giants for winning the World Series. They came out of nowhere and just uppercut the competition. It's pretty nice of them. Every time they were catching a beatdown, they just tagged someone else to the solar plexus. Apparently the NBA season started and no one told me. If so, I would have punched Kobe Bryant in his face, because that guy's a bitch. Apparently, the Minnesota Timberwolves, even though Kevin Love is hurt, they still have the whitest team in the NBA. I think they're going to win -7 games this season. I feel bad that there's not enough black people in Minnesota. Kirby Puckett and Prince must be lonely. In other news of bitch-assness, if anybody's watching for love and hip-hop and they see Little Scrappy on the street, tell him to talk to me. I want to knock him out for embarrassing black people. I mean, you think that I'm a big enough of embarrassment for all of everyone out there? I wish you all a safe and happy Halloween. And if you don't vote next Tuesday, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to eat your children.